Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Westminster Select for Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. Welcome to everyone and the public. Now call to order. The first order of business will be the adjustments to the agenda. Seeing no adjustments to the agenda, we'll now move on to the acceptance of the minutes for the last meeting of the Select Board, which was May 12th, 2021.
I move we approve the minutes of the meeting of May 12th as printed.
Acceptance of the minutes has been so moved and seconded. Any comment or input from the public? Go ahead.
I have one. In your packet, we have some corrections. Yvette brought it to our attention that we've been misspelling her name, and I want it in the minutes to correct. So I would like to go on record as trying to correct 6/24, 7 of 2020, 7/22 of 2020, 8/12 of 2020, 5/12 of 21, to spell her name correctly as Yevette.
No. So moved unless, and we do apologize for the misspelling. So moved. Any objection? The minutes will be amended as such. Thank you, Russell. Before we continue, is the public people who just interjected, are they back on? Can they hear? Okay. Do apologize for that.
Testing. Testing. I can talk louder.
Okay, we will do our very best.
Okay, thank you.
Got a hand up? Yes. Get your mic.
There you go.
I'm not sure whether this is a correction in the minutes or a public comment, one of the two, but in the minutes of the meeting on 5/12, it correctly notes that Yvette and I both had comments to make about the town office hours or the remarks that I had made the week before about the town office hours. However, if you listen to the recording that Fact TV put on their website, at 6 minutes and 40 seconds into it, Mr. Hodgkins says, we can talk about that under other business. And you say, yes. And there's no record in the minutes of 5/12 that this was ever discussed by the board. And it's not on the agenda now. It wasn't on the agenda for the meeting that was canceled. So I guess I want to know, when is it going to be discussed?
That's a valid question. And thank you for it.
I'll make sure it's on next meeting.
Our next scheduled meeting would be the 23rd.
That's correct.
Would that be adequate to make sure that it's on? Okay. We will make it a point that is complete in the record and set for the agenda on the 23rd of June. Should you have any specifics that are additional to your inquiry, please do not hesitate to send them to the town manager to make sure that they're reflected for that discussion. Is that adequate? And thank you, sir, for your input very much, and we apologize for the oversight and the missing in the record. Additionally, at this point, any other comments from the public? Seeing none, communication and any further public comments? Yes. Seeing none, on to unfinished business. American Rescue Plan, ARPA. Do we vote on? Oh, I apologize. Again, returning to the acceptance of minutes as corrected for May 12, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are accepted. On to unfinished business. American Rescue Plan, ARPA, COVID Local Recovery Funds update.
I keep going online to try to find the newest and best information. Last meeting I had printed out what you have in your packet, but I also today found out that yesterday they did update some information. So in your packet is how towns can fund, how towns can use the funding from the ARPA program. Also in your packet, you have what the town of Westminster was allocated. It's highlighted on a piece of paper, looks like this. And for those who don't have it, and I do apologize, it wasn't in the packet, but I only got it today. The town of Westminster is eligible for $282,762 to be distributed in 2021, which is very soon, $141,381, and then next year, spring of 2022, is another $141,381. We are also lucky enough to receive some money for the Westminster Village. Its entirety is $28,161. So the two allocations would be $14,081 for the Westminster Village. So that was great news. I found out today to receive your monies, we have to have a contact person for the ARP funding. You have to have a motion at this meeting, I would hope, for this person, and it is going just literally the contact person, where if changes come when the money actually hits our bank account, it is shared with the public and of course you folks. So I do need a motion to be reflected in the minutes for a contact person for this funding.
Do we have a motion?
Russ, does this have to be somebody in the office?
It does not. It doesn't say that. It just says that the person has to be capable of receiving all the updates and in a timely manner responding to them.
Would that be Russ?
I guess so.
Yeah. I move that Russ Hodgkins is the contact person for the American Rescue Plan for the town.
I'll second it.
We have a public comment. Hand raised. Mr. Jones is recognized.
Thank you, Chair. On this here, just because further on in the meeting, pointed to the, I think the Wyndham Regional Commission, and I'm working on a lot of this stuff, so I didn't know if I could offer my services, help maybe manage that as well with the town manager. Just wanted to put that offer out there. There's a lot on the table, and this is a lot of moving parts, and I'm routinely in contact with the folks at the state federal level. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment before we proceed? Chair resumes to the original motion. Is the motion to remain as stated, or do you wish to amend?
No, I think Mr. Jones has just offered his help to Russ. That doesn't require part of the motion, but
Okay,
I'm still good with my motion.
is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you have that, Millie? Okay, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just
Yes,
have a question for
please.
Russ. So it looks like we have until 2024 to spend all the money, both allocations. Is that the idea?
That's the idea at this point. It coming out so late, I assume that date's going to be pushed back a little bit, but not by a ton.
Okay.
Um,
We don't have to decide.
You don't,
Right.
and what they warn you about is reacting. Don't react, plan. You want something that is going to benefit the town, but not cost the town in long-term investment type deals. So
You're going to come back to us with some what qualifications more of what we would have in Westminster?
absolutely, but here are what you can use them for, and please start jotting down ideas that you have to help. Toby and I talked briefly about this, and she had some great ideas. So we need to jot those down, and then at some point narrow it down and get the public involved and go for it. There is also, it should be noted, which we don't have that information yet, but there is about 3 times this amount of money coming to the regional commissions for the towns to be also spent. But those regulations and purposes have not been clarified to the point of publication yet. So we'll keep you abreast of that when it comes available.
Thank you. Any further comment on ARPA from the board members or the public? Seeing none, we will move on to unfinished business B, bridge number 5 on Route 121 update.
So in your packets, and actually they're off to the side, I felt you should have the plans for the Route 121 bridge number 5 for the town of Westminster. Key to the conversation is the answers that we got from J.B. McCarthy from the state of Vermont, answering our concerns that I had talked to you all about, and Chuck, about the plans showing access roads. He very clearly put it in perspective that those are just for construction purposes so that they can access underneath the bridge if they need to, and the abutments where they need to do some repair. We were worried about the 3-foot shoulders to make sure that that was exactly what we were getting, and that is exactly what we're getting. 11-foot lanes with 3-foot shoulders on both sides of that bridge. Also wanted to make sure that we have all of the information in a timely manner when we are going to close it, so that we can let not just our taxpayers, but Saxons River and Rockingham, who it will affect, and Grafton, of course. I have already notified the school district about their bus routes for next summer, that they should start planning on this road being closed, with still no real date fixed, but trying to give everybody a heads up on this closure. The sign packages are going to be through us. That was one of those, after the contract was signed, they said, oh, gee, we forgot to tell you that that's going to be partly yours. So we will have to have Jersey barriers, that type of things, where. Right. Well, it's going to be blocked right at back Westminster Road. And it's going to be only for those houses that are down in the hole. Yeah, we'd have to. Then that's where they would come in, because that is their purview. We're supposed to do the site. They're doing the leading up to it. I agree. Yeah.
Vehicle you could turn around.
Right.
We're just talking about tractor trailers, deliveries, anything.
Yep. Yep. And that's really why I was questioning when we're going to get that information so that we can plan ahead. Yep.
Do we have to have permission from Bell Falls to sign up?
We would definitely give them they would want it, but yes, we would definitely give them the courtesy call.
What is the established timetable before we begin?
They're talking June of 2022 to start, and the first 30 days is without obstruction. And after that, then it's 60 days of closure. So July and August, I feel it's going to be more like August, September. It never starts on time, yada, yada. So I'm just assuming that it will be later in the summer than the earlier part.
Thank you. So we have time to get these ancillary concerns in place.
Absolutely.
Such as signage.
And if you read
Okay.
his comment, he will give us plenty of notice,
Okay.
as much notice as he gets.
And all feedback from you guys as to what we also should have in place. Russ?
They know ahead of time that there's an electrical carrier involved. How the road's going to be closed and the carrier's going to find a different access. Is that signage and expense that could be paid for through that?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so either. Right. No, I don't think so.
So if we could establish a timeline outline just to make sure that these are addressed, so we're going to everyone affected, so that way at the last minute we're not having issues.
Exactly.
Is that reasonable? Any other comments on bridge number 5 by the board or the public?
I have a request.
Recognize Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
Hi. If anyone is going to speak, could they speak into a microphone? We can't hear anything that anybody is saying other than Kevin and Russ.
Yes, thank you. We will continue to try and get our audio correct. Sorry about that, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how to put my hand down. If anyone is going to speak, could they speak into a microphone?
Audio correct. Sorry about that, Nancy.
Thank you.
You.
I don't know how to put my hand down. If anyone is going to
It's like
speak,
deja
could
vu.
they speak into a microphone?
Audio correct. Sorry about that, Nancy.
Thank you.
You.
I'd like to say something.
Everything, have we, something going on there? Oh, Chair recognizes Fran Renault.
Thank you. Why am I getting, I'm getting current,
Recognizes Fran Renault.
I'm getting current, stuff that's going on, and then I keep hearing the past stuff.
We're in a loop.
What? What? Stuff that's going on.
So we have technical difficulties. Any suggestions from Fact TV? You guys have any suggestions? So we have technical difficulties. Any suggestions from Fact TV? Okay, so we do apologize for that. Guys have any suggestions? Want to try again, Fran? Oh, well. Very sorry about that. Moving on to website renewal update, if any. Okay. Apologize.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Oh, good. May I speak? Well, we're still moving along, and Russ Lazarek is here. Did you want to comment, Russ, on whether we had any progress this week?
Yeah, I think as Sue said, we're still moving along. We've been struggling to get really feedback from
Update, if any.
boards, things like that. We are going to send out one last reminder to everyone.
Any progress this week?
Them.
Yep. Send me a list and I'll, yep.
And basically, next week. Carry forward what we have.
Progress this week? Send me a list. Yep. Great. Thanks for all your work on that. That's been
Thank you.
good.
Any other comment on the website? Public comment?
Great. Thanks for all your work on that.
Moving on to collaborative finance processing manual update, if any.
In your packet is the update. It's slowly but surely being fed in. Kelly finished her section. I started on with Paul's. Need some more feedback from him. We will be working on that constantly, so that we'll have this behind us. So there's a little bit more done, and once we get Paul's, then we will be talking with Nemrick also. But we can't talk to Nemrick until we get Paul's. So we're moving forward. It's looking better.
Thank you. Any further comments on the collaborative financial processing manual? Comments from the public? Moving on to Hartley Hill Road, private section update.
So I finally found the right person. I was waiting for a person to get back from vacation, and that wasn't even the right person. So now I do have the right person, and I have in the packet a letter from her. It said, "Hello, Russ. Our attorney, Jeff Morse, is on vacation, but I spoke to Michael Sosimo about your request for a quit claim for our road rights, and he didn't see any reason why we would not sign it. If you have Larry prepare the document, you can send it on to me and I will get it signed. Thanks, Vicky Gregan." So at this point, I need your authorization to talk to Mr. Wickberg and get this started and paid for.
Any further discussion?
What will that allow the town to do? Next step.
I'll give you to Robert at this point.
I guess there's a lot of different directions you could go. The first thing I would do once you got that in hand is write a letter to Mr. Bonds and say, we have a deed here that says we own it. What do you got? I did a little bit more research in the past 2 weeks, and I came across a very interesting deed. It's a utility easement that Bonds gave Vermont Telephone Company when they wanted to put fiber over the hill to get to my house and a few other houses on our side of the hill. And the thing that was really interesting about it is I figured if I could find a deed like that, then maybe that would establish Bond's claim, right? But when you read it, when it comes to the section where it says what title does Bonds have in order to grant this utility easement, it says book and it's left blank, and then page, and that's also left blank. So I don't know whether it was Vitel's lawyers or whether it was Bond's lawyers that drew up that particular deed, but neither of them could find, or either that or they didn't look for a deed that would establish Bond's claim to this property either. So it's like every time I go back to the files and look, I come away even more convinced that Bonds has no title. And I think once we have this quitclaim deed in hand, we can go to him and say, you know, prove it. And if he can't, then I think the town has a legitimate claim to just saying, well, we now own the road. You could add that whatever the mileage is to our whatever road database it is that gets us the state reimbursement. And, you know, you could just go in a lot of different directions, I think. But I think the important thing is to get this quitclaim deed in place so that the town has title. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not a lawyer, but you know, you can ask Larry for his opinion, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, shoot, please.
I think getting the land would be great. My only concern is that we also, once we own that road, have to bring it up to our condition in order to even qualify for a Class 2 road. So I would like to know is whether, when we get that close, to have Chucky look at it with Russ to see, because then how many culverts we got to put in. That road has to be up to our standards in order to claim it. And there's going to be some money spent to fix that road. How much, we don't know. But I think we still should, I'm not against them, proceed, see if we can get it.
My opinion on that is that that road is in no better and no worse shape than the entire rest of the hill. It's that road is just as wide, it's just as well drained. There's problems with the whole hill, but and it's never going to be a super highway. But I'm
not disagreeing with it. I'd just rather have the town,
okay.
Chuck and those guys come back and say, we don't need to, this is where it is. And we could all of a sudden be picking up something where we got to put a lot of money into culverts because of how the field's drained. But I'm not being pessimistic. Let's see if we can get it, and then we'll figure it out from there.
I have an observation, if I may. You have come, Bob, and given us some interesting information based on your own personal recollection and due diligence that you yourself have exercised. Would it be much more of a burden on you, understanding the long-term frustration you've endured here, to give us a clean and concise, brief synopsis, for example, on what you just enunciated in your first comments regarding acquisition of the property that may be presented to our attorney, and at least to have that reviewed. So that way we're taking each step fundamentally in succession to hopefully get where we need to be. Because when you make these comments, I'm intrigued, but I don't know them the way you do. I can't speak for the rest of the board collectively. But if you had those if you could put that in a synopsis for us, that might be really helpful. Thank you very much. And I know, again, it's asking to do a lot, but if we can have it and ready for the next meeting too and get that in front of our attorney, maybe that will speed things up. Thank you very much. Any other comments on this matter?
So I'm a little gray here. So do you want me to proceed with creating the quit claim deed?
Yes, but also Bob is going to prepare
Okay.
some additional information that at least Larry can have.
I would think you would need
Well-
to, because you're going to not spend any money. Robert's going to spend the money, but it is going to be, a formal request of our lawyer.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Bob, you okay with that? Okay. Any objections? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nope. Motion carries. Thank you, Robert.
Thank-
Moving on to town land off Davidson Hill Road. Update.
The update is that the auction has been set for the 29th of June of this month, 29th at 10 a.m. here at the town hall. You will need to bring with you a cashier's check or cash to the auction if you are willing to bid for the maximum amount that you are willing to bid on. So it will be just like a tax sale. Larry Slayson will be the auctioneer. He will not accept anything lower than $5,000, and the auction will start from there. Just FYI, there is at least 4 people that are interested that will probably be at the auction.
Terrific. Any additional comments or concerns from the board? Public comment? Thank you, Russell. Moving on to new business.
No, one more.
Go ahead.
The Westminster school vote and budget votes that are being funded right now by the town. The school vote for the 3 board members is June 30th here at the town hall, or you can get an absentee ballot. There is only 3 names on the ballot. On August 31st, that 3-man board, 3-person board, will be creating a budget, and that's what the August 31st vote will be, is on the budget for the school to go back to what we normally had. So the dates are June 30th and August 31st here at the town hall.
Thank you. Again, any further comment or concern? Go ahead.
Normally our tax bills come out in September. How does
This is for the following year.
So, okay.
So they're nothing for the year that we're going through right now. So you've
they're-
got time.
Okay,
They have time.
that's what I was trying to get clear. Thanks.
That's correct.
Any other comments or concerns from the board? From the public? Seeing none, we will now move on to new business. Discussion, action, beginning with A, the open meeting law, and a discussion.
Turn on your mic. Big button.
Everybody has a copy of the Vermont statutes, and it's very clear what a executive session is allowed to be for. And the open meeting law has been in place for many, many years, and it's we just have to be very, very careful about the kinds of things that we want to you know, they're specific. So please read this, and if you have any arguments about it, we can take it up to Vermont, up to Montpelier. But I think this is good, and it's clear.
Thank you very much.
So maybe you're suggesting is that we have this document with us, and when we go to executive session, we say, go into executive session.
And for this reason.
Section 10, security or emergency response measures, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
exactly what you have to do.
Thank you.
And is it your suggestion, which is probably obvious, that we preface every time we reference that we're doing that we make
Yes.
reference to this document?
Yes, I think that would be really very, very smart.
Well, you're very,
Okay.
very smart, and thank you for making sure that we do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions on this? Thank you, Toby. From the public? Thank you all. Moving on to the end of year financials.
So in your packet, you have the up-to-date financials that we're working on right now, and will be ending June 30th. So it's pretty much not that document that I put in front of you that I'm asking questions about, but we have a couple items below that that might influence your purview on this document. So it is June, and conversation about the cost of living adjustment for FY22 needs to happen before the end of the year. Does not have to happen tonight, but it definitely by next meeting. So I just put these on here so that you can start getting your thoughts together about the end of the year and how we're looking. The other item that could possibly influence your decisions is actually new business D. And Chuck, if you want to lead on that, it's the backhoe. In your packets, you have three documents, one from Caterpillar, one from Nortrax. Actually, it's the Nortrax one is on both sides. Chuck, you want these? So you have one in your hand? Okay.
So I just basically need to know which direction to go. We're at the point where possibly, so it's got issues, and we're at the point where we can put more money into it, and we're going to get back out of it in trade. So I'm kind of looking for a direction to go. Do we look at maybe trying to purchase a new one or lease one, or do we, throw the dice and try to repair it and see what happens?
So to clarify, what he's saying is the Nortrax on one side is the repair for $16,983.46. This is an estimate, and it is also an estimate on exactly what's
wrong with it.
What's wrong with it.
Don't know if it's wrong. It's worst case scenario.
And then on the other side, of course, is the trade-in and purchase of new. He also went to Caterpillar and got a price from them also. In your packet, I also placed the equipment replacement schedule. And if you look at that, you can see that the backhoe was in red, and the red meant that it is flexible and needs to be placed where we can and where we can afford to put it for replacement.
Right, the trucks have always had a schedule, and the equipment's always
Fit in.
flexible.
And the backhoe is the next unit up for replacement when we can afford it. So
And we use it for, like last night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 down, Green Mountain Power calls, they need assistance. So I go get the backhoe, I drive it to where they are, help them move the tree out of the way. Give them a point where you don't, drive it, you load it on a trailer, you haul it there, you unload it. Carefully do what you gotta do, put it back on the trailer.
Can you explain what you're experiencing with that machine?
Well, it's making a noise, and last winter, we took out the rear end, we disassembled it, and we built the rear end, the differential, Jason did most of the work. We put a new differential in it, we bought a differential, aftermarket one, if you want to, they both be down there. And now it's just produced a new noise, and we can't really tell for sure whether it's coming from the transmission or the rear end. My gut tells me it's coming from the transmission, not 100% sure, and we haven't taken it to Nortrack or anywhere where the professionals. I don't want to dump a lot of money into something before we know what direction you guys want to go. So that's why we're here. You could easily go backwards and start putting more money into something that is worth. So we need to just figure out what we want to do. There's nothing saying you're not going to put 8, 5, 10, whatever into it and find out later that something else is going to go. It's at that point in its life. And all the equipment that works for the municipality gets used hard. It's not like a construction company or somewhere like that. We need to have that stuff, especially in an emergency situation.
Hey, Chuck, we went out and bought that excavator with the idea that the backhoe would be extended longer, because what you were doing before is you were doing projects with the backhoe, where now you're doing projects with the excavator. Have we actually cut back the use of the excavator quite a bit, the backhoe? I mean, we're still using as much, and then now that you have an excavator.
Everybody used to work on the same project.
Right.
You might have 3 guys leaning on shovels, 2 guys directing traffic. Now what we do is we normally work 3 different crews. So you might have somebody in the backhoe replacing culvert, somebody in the excavator doing ditching, and somebody else in the tractor doing roadside mowing. So we count on that machine to be moving. And also I count on Jason to be in the tractor mowing, not working on the backhoe. So that's my biggest issue. It turns into a personnel issue also at the same time. So trust me, I'm not just looking for a new fancy machine. I'm a taxpayer too.
No, but my whole point is, when we got the excavator, it was going to do a lot for the backhoe. So the second part of the question, would you still get the same size, or would you start to think, oh, now I got an excavator, do I get a different size backhoe that could maybe not, you know what I'm talking about?
Right, and your quote shows a little bit bigger backhoe, and Jason and I actually discussed that this afternoon, that the backhoe that they quoted was the exact same spec on the cap one, the exact same spec to the one we have now. Where I said, we probably could get away with one a little bit smaller. Because, like you said, we do a lot more with the excavator. But in the middle of the night, you can't track an excavator up the road. So if there's trees down, if there's one of these windstorms, whatever we have, a microburst, we really do rely on that piece of equipment.
So you're talking a 310?
I'm saying with that 420 or a 310. Yeah, a 420 John Cat or a 310 John Deere would be equivalent.
John?
Yes?
Wanted to ask Chuck on this quote that says trading 27,000, and This other page is that, yeah. So if we did the repairs, here's some of that happened.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we're gonna take down 102 by moving another 27 to April.
Hard to say unknown, absolutely.
That's,
And that's
start
why-
chipping away at this money instead of just
That's why I'm
replacing it.
here
I
now.
mean, you're
yeah.
addressing the personnel issue, which is another compounding factor in the thing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
A year from now, that price of that's not gonna be what it is. Or 2 years from now, or whatever the case may be. It's gonna be more.
Well,
Everything is more now than it was last.
Can I ask the taxpayer, what else what else we use this machine for?
We replaced culvert, the excavator does a lot of ditch type work, cleaning the ditches out, that kind of thing.
What about the,
Um,
are we talking about the excavator or the
no,
backhoe?
So that's what the excavator's busy doing, that kind of stuff. And there'll be a couple of guys, in the backhoe replacing culverts, especially on roads that don't require traffic control so much. Goddard Road himself, even your road, even, Old Athens Road, Windmill, roads like that, we can get away with replacing culverts with a lot of extra help. I might send a backhoe out with 2 guys to do that, while the rest of the crew is doing something else. So,
Thank you.
Really, utility vehicle.
well, that kind
You
of.
can do a little bit of everything with it, and you need the mobility, you need to be able to get in it and go.
So for instance, like today, we're finishing up Quarry Road, they're putting stone in the ditches, and they're replacing the culvert. The loader is down right now at Town Line Road, on the other end of Pine Banks Road, loading out 7-inch minus stone to be put in the ditches. So that means the loader's gone out of the shop, so we've got nothing to load other material with, except for the backhoe. So the backhoe's there, but the guys have been instructed to be easy with it, right? Yeah, very ginger. Don't spin with it. Don't, make sure you're being careful, because I'm afraid of, I don't want it to break down. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got no idea.
Hours, whatever, it's pretty common to take it out, bring it back, take it out, bring it back. But they don't do that now, but like, 6,000 or 7,000 hours worth of miles running down the road. A lot.
We were expecting I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
We were expecting the life expectancy on this particular vehicle to run, best case, to what year?
On your schedule, we have it for next year,
Next year, so it's
FY
it's near that.
'23.
Let me ask another
So
question.
We added a few years to it, right? Because we purchased the excavator. BC, before Chuck. We
On it-
purchased the excavator. But thinking that the excavator, the backhoe, was gonna make it longer than it has, but I have been utilizing the help and the equipment a little different than we had been, so that now it's being used a little more.
On a scale of 1 to 10, based on all of your experience, which is substantial, does this vehicle also pose a hazard risk to the public and/or most certainly you gentlemen working it, based on its deficiencies and its potential failure? On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put it?
I would say 8. It's becoming unpredictable and
That
unreliable.
that high, 8.
Recently we had the pilot control hydraulics, blue, which in the cab. So I mean, spraying hydraulic oil inside the cab. Really good under high pressure.
Sure.
So I mean, that kind of stuff. No.
So, as John Jones brought up, and you, without putting the 16,000 into it, we, for example, for a John Deere and Ortrex, they would be willing to trade us $27,000 without doing the repair.
Right.
And as Jason pointed out, next year, the value will be lower no matter what we do.
Well, the value would be lower, but the price of the new machine would also be
So I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
One of which, if we purchase a new one now, do we have the money for that? Where would that come from?
Good question. So
Money?
if we can get permission, and I definitely would run this by Chad and legal counsel, but we received, and if you pull your report back out on the front page, we have $65,500 in grant money that we received that came out of the general fund, out of Chuck's budget, and we were reimbursed for it. If we could take that surplus and apply it back to the highway department, which we typically don't do when we get this type of grant money, because they don't have their own budget, they have the town budget. But if we did that before it became surplus, we put it together, so that's 65.5 off of that. We have a balance of about $11,500 out of the equipment fund, which would leave us a deficit of $25,000 to buy that backhoe outright. At this point, if we can get permission to do all of that. So the 25 is much more palatable to do from the FY22 budget than it would be to try to say take out a long-term loan or something like that. That's just a proposal that I have been playing with, looking at how we are coming in our end of our year.
We have one more meeting for the end of the year.
Yes, we do.
Can we have Chuck, just make sure, I hate buying something till we know exactly the size you want and everything, because the excavator has changed what we do. If you could come back to us with next meeting with those numbers and making sure that
The
you guys.
310?
Well, no, whatever,
Or 310
I'm not gonna tell him what.
12 or 20?
Because we did go to the town to buy a piece of equipment we never had, which was the excavator. With the idea that we weren't gonna use the backhoe as much. So I'm not gonna tell you what to buy, but I think you should accept that and come back to us with it. This is what I want, all the options with it. You know how it is, you've got all the options for the bucket, the throttle and all the other work with it. And if it's gonna take the same equipment, we trade you equipment, come back to us next meeting with that and find it. I think we're heading in that direction.
This is why we're talking about it tonight, not tomorrow, on the next day.
Probably chew up that.
Oh, you're gonna,
One size, you chew that 25 up.
Maybe.
And that's what I'm saying, yeah, my biggest thing tonight was just trying to figure out what direction you guys want to go in. And, so that's fine, I can figure that out.
And I appreciate everything that you've put through, but also very importantly, I just want to make clear for the public, for future budget issues, which we always have that come up, as to why we made a prudent or imprudent decision at this time. This vehicle, so we're all clear, as far as you guys are concerned, is essential to do your job in this town. Is that correct or not correct? Is that a fair statement?
That is good, yeah.
And it's also a fair statement based on what you guys said, that the vehicle right now is not only faltering, but also poses some type of a potential liability and or issue as far as safety for the crew. Is this also true? Okay. And then I'm going to shut up, I promise. Before we go to the $65,000 issue, I would also beseech my colleagues that we make sure that legally we have a legal opinion from our attorney that we are indeed acting in a way that is exactly in accordance with the rules that permit us to do such a thing in this event where it behooves us to replace this essential vehicle. Is that reasonable to say?
Yes.
Right.
One is that it goes back to his department, but once it's in his department, we have a legal right to spend it on capital investment instead of a repair. I'm with you.
No, and I'd like that clarified. That way we it doesn't ever come up that we didn't make a decision that was within policy and appropriate.
I have another comment, but I think Russ would like to take it.
Yeah, I just want to follow up with your question about the funding. If you did repair it, where would that funding come from? There's a good chance probably next year we could have a 58 on top of that. Where would that continuing funding come from?
It would, and we'd have to wait until after July 1st.
Good question. Thank you.
So Kevin, I had a two-part comment.
Please.
And I know you've heard me say this before, and this won't cover the backhoe if we do this next year or two, but I wanted to go back to the 5-year capital plan soon. And the way I suggest we do it is that we list all the buildings, the major equipment that we need, all the major projects that we don't do every year. Look at, say, the town garage, option, replace it. Option B, fix it. What do we do? Northwest Community Center, what do we do there? For over the next 5 years, or maybe even 10, what we need to do with all our major buildings and equipment. And here you have them listed. And then get an estimate. This would be the hard part as far as I can see. The estimated cost for all those projects, where we might be able to pay for them, and then prioritize them. And this seems like a major project to me, but it seems like something, otherwise we're just sort of flailing around. What are we going to do with these buildings, and we never actually make a decision on what we're going to do till we're at the end. So I think we definitely, I would advocate for a process that we start in right away.
After July? After
Yeah.
July 1st? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. I mean, that's exactly what we need to do. Does anyone have suggestions? How would you propose us on the 1st to create an outline?
Yeah, I mean, when we started on the 5-year plan, we each took a building, and I was with the town garage, and Craig, we each had a building, and so that's one thing. So the way I would suggest is whoever worked with town, go with Chuck and say, what do you suggest? Replace the thing, or if we repaired the town garage, what are the repairs we need? Craig, you would go to the Northwest Community Center and you have some input from people, fix it up and sell it, or fix it up and use it. And maybe town hall, we might not need anything for a number of years, so we could just say painting or whatever. And there might be, and I don't know, major road projects that we don't use every year. I don't know what those are, but equipment, as opposed to the trucks, someone work with Chuck and say, we need this. This is about what it would cost. I'm assuming that would be the hardest part, is estimating what the cost would be now and then 5 years from now. But
we have the schedule, we just don't have the prices.
Yeah.
Broken in two parts. One is the equipment fund is the capital fund that you basically don't even tell the voters they got a choice. They got to replace it.
That's for the
The
trucks.
building funds would be an article where you're going to the voters to say,
Here, this is what we're gonna have to do. It's really an article discussion, but it still comes out with exactly what you're saying, a big long-term plan. When we're gonna go to the voters for an article to replace the roof on the building or something.
And how would we want to pay for it? Go to the voters, borrow money, I don't know, and borrow money over, or how, yeah, there would be options.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
shouldn't be in a situation like we are today where we have to come in and ask them one at a time. Because we've already got it on schedule,
Right.
but we've got to be prepared to
Well,
work with community health or all those.
right. And maybe every year we would have a certain amount of money put away in a reserve fund that didn't get spent because we were going to, replace the loader in 2023 or whatever.
So, excellent recommendations. I'm sorry, Russ. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's something actually Susan and I have been talking about. I think having that inventory now, even though it's down owned, including roads, own roads, but I think it was important that down there as well. Just put it down to have that visibility. Maybe the starting point is just inventory, and up a new website, something to put on the website.
Very good point. So something we should get on after July. And is there any volunteers to get that started? I'll be very happy to be included.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we would all take part as we did when
Sure.
we did this 5-year plan. We each had I don't know, someone had the post office and it was a good way to learn about it, but pardon? Yeah.
So we can get that outline up fast, and then unfortunately have to also burden our town manager for his input as well as to specifics and amplifying, because he has the amplifications, the specifics that are going in all of this stuff. And I know he's very busy, but if that could be, when we can reach out, Russ, as we get through each line item.
Absolutely. We've got it just about done. We don't have costs. We have the capital part, we just don't have the funds.
Okay.
So we can do that, small committees for each building.
Well, hopefully we're
get
heading
together.
we're heading past the COVID-19, because I know that, for example, North Westminster Community House has really hung me up. But now that we're heading into a time where there might be more grant money and everything, is more times that we should be starting to really seriously.
We are going to do something with the Northwest, just to kind of get that. Well, grant money, there's money out there.
Look at your ARPA.
Yes, go ahead. Public comment.
I wanted to piggyback on what Craig Allen was saying about grants and facilities and everything we're doing as you work through this 5 years. There is a lot of grants out there. So when we forecast the needs for these facilities, we also attach that budget. That should be the first thing we say. We're going to seek the grants for the work, and the taxpayers, stakeholders' investment into those projects. There's a lot of work. There's an inventory out there for roads already on the AMP website. You can pull it right over. It'll tell you the status of all of our roads right. And all the grant money that goes with that. So, and you can also use that for the buildings. They have money. Town hall actually qualifies. The town garage qualifies for money from the state. So I did all this work last year, and I have it, and I'm willing to disseminate it.
Please.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, John. Okay, so we've covered any comment from the public, any further public comment? Oh, thank you. So we have gone through end of year financials and the backhoe replacement discussion versus repair.
Do you want to talk about C some more?
Yeah, it's employee cost of living, the COLA.
Yes. Have you looked it up?
I have not.
Can you?
I most certainly can.
I remember last year you did it on your phone and it was like 35 seconds. Unfortunately, I don't know the sites as well, apparently, because it took me a long time to find out what the state of Vermont is experiencing for the first half of this fiscal year, and the second half of this fiscal year, and the first half of next year. And I'll share what I came up with. The cost of living adjustment is 1.6% from January to June 1st. The consumer product index is 2.6% in the state of Vermont for, again, the same period of time. Social Security is 1.3% increase. So from April 2020 to April of 2021, they said it went up 4.2% with the cost of living. Again, these are numbers that you can find. They're not easy to find, but you can go through.
Thank you very much. And that's you're ready for your turn as an investment manager. Social Security cost of living adjustment was only 1.3%. As the town manager has expressed, though, this has been a fairly interesting year, so it's a moving target. It's for us to decide. I mean, 1.3%. if you're asking me as a taxpayer, seems kind of light. But that's me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the one that usually argues for, you know, the cost of living increase to be exactly what the projected cost of living, but, you know, presumably this is going to be a year with some inflation, so, you know, if we base our increase on, you know, what the cost of living is now, and then, you know, it goes up another % or so in the next year, that's going to leave people struggling.
What every year we come up, the voters always seem to ask us the same question, is what did we put in our budget? So if we put in 2.4%,
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. What did we put in this year?
2.5. So if you want history, I've got till 18. So it was 2% in 18, 3% in 19, 2.8 in 20, 1.6 last year, and then it is what it is this year.
Are we deciding tonight or next?
I'm sorry.
I'm
so
not
let-
pressuring you. I'm
no,
just
no.
telling
Last
you
year
that
we,
Mhm.
I apologize, Russ. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Or anyone else for that matter. So we adopted a 1.6 benchmark last year, correct? Is that what you just said?
That's correct.
Again, at 1.3 recommended by the Social Security Administration. You know, I'm just putting my 2 cents in as a taxpayer. I don't think that that is a accurate representation of what the average citizen is experiencing, whether you're in Vermont, Georgia, or California. But that's me.
You think it's higher? Yeah.
I do.
I agree with you. I would not want to go with 1.3, that's for sure.
this goes from July all the way back around, so
Right.
I'm normally with Sue on it, but on the other hand, I think 2.5, this might be the year we actually put in what, we give them what we put in. That just because it's a long ways and you can see things are gonna change.
I can tell you that culvert prices, they change weekly. I get a weekly update because they change every week. So the cost of living is going up all the time. And the best you're gonna take that culvert cost. Well, you do whatever you want, but I'm saying at the end of the day, when you're trying to raise a family and do whatever you gotta do, things are changing. Gas is going up, the cost of groceries is going up, the cost of doing business is going up. Our sand, the price of sand has gone up once so far already since May. I don't know what's gonna happen. I bought all our sand and salt. The shed's full of salt, we got all the sand for next winter. Because I knew that this was gonna happen. So I did what I could, but I'm just saying, that's all I'm saying. I'm not an investment banker, nor do I want to, but.
We're also due to do our fuel contract, and I'm waiting. Typically, I do it in the middle of June, but I'm going to wait a little while until it's stable. I've talked to a few contractors in the fuel business, and it's too abstract right now to get a good price from anyone. So waiting will only help us stabilize our pricing. Yes, because that's your last meeting, and it's the start of the new year.
I would only make one more input because it is what I do. You know, at a 2.5% core inflation rate, you know, you're looking at a COLA adjustment of 2.3. I mean, right there, you're shallow by 1.2, and that's assuming that you're taking the government's number as accurate. We all know that many important things are not included in the CPI anymore. So I'm just, I as a taxpayer, for everybody who's out there struggling and doing their thing, I would lean more towards a more generous interpretation of the COLA rule. I just wanted to get that out as a taxpayer for everybody. Any comments?
I agree with you.
Toby? Any comments from the general public? Okay, so we will put that into consideration and then come back at our next meeting. Thank you all. Moving on to the next meeting for the local hazard mitigation plan is June 21st at 5 p.m. at the town hall or by Zoom.
That was pretty much just a bulletin board to allow everybody to know what is happening. In your packets, I have given you the plan that is expiring. The two select board members, are you still interested, is Toby and Kevin.
Yes.
If you would both see if you can make that meeting. It's a good one.
I'll be
we
there.
are going to be doing the actual mitigation work that we've finished, and the mitigation work that needs to be done. Chuck will be playing a huge part in this one. Cole Streeter will have a big part in it for emergency management purposes. So it'll be a much more enthusiastic meeting than the last one was. June 21st at 5 p.m.
Comment from the public?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if we could actually, Russ, I wonder if we could actually let the public know about the survey that we have done by that.
Yes, on the website we placed it. I have put it. I have it, of course. So if you call and you're interested in it, please let me know and I'll fire it out to you. But yes, there's a survey of personal things that people want to see happen for our infrastructure in the town of Westminster. So.
Any other comment? Input? Any comment from the public? Thank you all. Moving on to the manager's report.
Just a few things. Delinquent tax update. We just had a parcel redeemed today, which is great. We're down to 12 parcels going to tax sale at this point, where we know that at least 4 of them have been abandoned. They're ready to give them up. So that's not bad. That's a typical year. Just a heads up on the town hall. The construction is mostly complete. We do have some punch list items, and they're all pending. They're have moved out for a while. Punch list is things that need to be corrected. Small things like dings on the wall. We have some spalling on our steps that has to be done. Yeah. Tax grievances will be heard tomorrow by the listers and the assessor. The letters were sent out last week to anyone that had a assessment change, and we only have 4, which is good news. And just a last one, just a heads up, town offices will be closed on July 2nd and July 5th for the holiday. The 5th is the recognized holiday, but the 2 of us are taking off the Friday for personal reasons, and so instead of leaving one person there, the office will be closed on Friday and Monday of that week. That's it.
Thank you. Comments? Comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to boards and commissions.
We are lucky to have 2 interested parties for our Wyndham Regional Commissions for representation for the town of Westminster. And in your packet, you have letters from John Jones and Russell Lazarick. the two are willing to jump in. To have them jump in, you folks need to make an official motion in this meeting to accept their position, and then I can forward it to Wyndham Regional for their, they don't just approve, but they do approve, and then they send them a packet, they get their contact information, and then they rock and roll. So we have only had one for probably 6 months, and then we had nothing. So now we have two, which is great, and we only need two. So I do, badly.
You have a comment?
Let me nominate you first so you don't change your mind. Okay? I move that we appoint John Jones to the position of, where is the position?
Wyndham Regional Commission rep.
There we go.
Motion has been made to appoint John Jones as one of our representatives to the Wyndham Commission, and has been seconded. All those in favor?
He wants to talk.
Oh, you want to comment? I apologize. Please, by all means.
This doesn't change, I'm still, wanted to put it out there. My question is, is there any conflict on any kind of boards? Like, I don't know, so I just want to make sure.
We've even had commissioners work at Wyndham Regional, so can't be too much of a conflict.
Inclined to come.
Thank you, John. Motion is made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries.
I move we nominate or accept the application of Russell Lazarek.
And I will second that.
Blah, 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 blah. Thank you.
Motion has now been made to appoint Russell, and seconded, Russell Lazarek as our other representative to the
Question I have on it.
Wyndham Regional Commission. Question from
Is
Mr.
there terms on these, Russ?
Until they quit.
Okay.
It's
Just
a
wanna make
life
sure they-
commitment.
Yeah, okay.
And it's weekends. Now that they've both been approved. No.
Any
Well, then
other,
there's that.
Any other questions or concerns, comments? Thank you.
Need a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Mr. Lazarek is now our second representative to Wyndham Regional. Thank you both very much.
Personally, thank you both very much. That's a very important commission for the town. They do a lot for us, and to have feedback is, very valuable. Thank you.
Moving on to other business. Any?
Since we had our town meeting. And the only thing is, every year we get done, we still get confused about the articles and everything. Is there any way we could look into next year's meeting when we get all done that we don't come back? We don't. That's not.
Come back to a motion again that we actually ask the voters, at least tell the voters that this is the bottom line. We leave that meeting and nobody still knows what the final number is. You know what I'm saying?
Fletcher Proctor fought you guys tooth and nail, and so we brought it to legal counsel, Larry Slayson, and he said, this is how you do it. Because the guessing.
We don't, I'm not asking for their vote. I'm just saying we get all done, we come back up and say, so this is all done the article, so this is the final number.
So it's just discussion, any other proper business.
They
Okay.
can't change the number, but at least we have a number that goes to the town clerk, goes to everybody when we left that meeting. When we left that meeting, you'd have to sit there and add it all up, because earlier in COVID was there too, we used to come back to them saying this is 0.1 cent on a dollar on your own. People would ask, what is the profit? But now with all the states, at least we can get done and say, this is what it is. Yeah, somewhere we such a procedure, we never get that last line, should be article number 8, that we actually come back and bring up what, I don't know how you want to do it.
Well, a couple of years ago, remember, we used a PowerPoint that said, if you pass this article, this will be the budget. Then you add on this. So we had it all. And then, of course, last year, everything went to crap, so. But we
Well,
could, that was
anyway,
good.
outside is totally different too.
Yeah, I know, that's, we couldn't, but we might be able to go back to that.
I agree, what Bill summarized it at the end, to know where we all actually stand.
Yep.
Probably not bad.
This year really brought up with so many articles, and so many confusion over that.
We were just adding to the articles. Most of the articles were already in the budget. We were only trying to change it. And it would really did get kind of confusion that what was the final bill that we were asking the taxpayers. So thank you. Outside that was a good meeting.
So speaking of numbers and such, if you would pull your reports back out, I forgot to mention one thing. Your financial reports, I should say. So on page 6, this is my answer to your request, Craig. So looking at equipment, buildings, so gas, fuel, and oil are on one line. Then we added an additional category of town garage repairs and parts, and the total is at the bottom, so that you can see that we still are putting dollar amounts at the equipment that it needs for transparency, but yet you can see the total without having to do any math. It's right there in front of you. You like it? Okay.
I just keep giving out all information, we're not actually using it. That was my problem, you know? If we're using it, leave it there.
I also did this on, you wanted it done on the town garage wages. So I broke those into town garage wages. It's at the top of that page. So the first 6 items are together with a total, so that we can again show transparency to the taxpayers and yet have a total at the end of the day. And then all the other remaining items are categorized by themselves. So again, those totals are separated also. So again, you don't have to do any math to know where you stand for those items.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Where you have a breakdown of equipment, it can be very misleading for folks that don't have any idea what it costs to maintain equipment. Just like air filters, like an air filter for the grader is $200. So when you look at the breakdown, don't think that, wow, that thing's sucking up the money, it must be breaking down all the time, or a lot of that's just general maintenance. It's really not. It's just big equipment and it's expensive to maintain.
In the past, you used to have, maintenance, that was maintenance. A repair was a repair. Sure. You didn't have it on schedule, it broke, you went in and you repaired it, and you separate it that way.
Sure. No,
As long as it works for you, you understand.
I'm okay with it. I just want the public to know that not all our equipment's junk, just looking at, you know what I mean? And certainly so you look at the backhoe that I'm talking about replacing versus the grader. Well, we've done some major maintenance, 2,000-hour service and stuff to the grader, where you're dumping all the fluids and it costs a lot of money versus repairs on the backhoe. So I'm just saying, it's not an actual effective depiction of that piece of equipment, the numbers.
Are you going to switch over to new truck numbers?
No, because I don't want to screw this up. Okay. So the new truck number system, what he's talking about is, So where it says truck number 7, as far as the town of Westminster, it is unit number 7. If you come to the town garage, it's truck number 207, because it's a 2020 truck, but it's unit 7. So, because when we trade in trucks, it gets confusing for ATG, because somebody, it could be like Rockingham, one of our trucks right now. Let's say Rockingham buys our truck, and then they go back to ATG and they go, oh, we have Westminster truck number 2. Well, and then they get confused, because I go to get tires for truck number 2. So our next truck will be 212, 2021, unit 2. So as far as this goes, this will stay the same. But as far as our numbering system goes, anybody on the sidewalk looking at a truck going down the road, they can look at the number, and the first 2 numbers is actually the year of the truck. The last number is the unit number.
Thank you for explaining the transparency of what we're doing.
Not a problem.
That being said, any further comments? Any input from the public? Our next meeting, June 23rd, 2021, 6:30.
That's correct.
Sue will be absent.
If you push for that one.
Will
I would
everyone,
ask that you give Kevin your input to anything that would be talked about, such as the tabled.
will everyone else be present on the board for the 23rd? Everyone else will be here? Terrific. No, seeing nothing further, I'll take a motion for adjournment. Motion to adjourn, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.